Because either if we fall back, if we stay next to this pretty well-built concrete bunker, they're going to keep machine gunning us. So we have to fall back somewhere here. Which, yeah. But if we had moved up to here, we would at least have been in the forest. And that might have allowed us to hold here better. Don't know what's exactly coming from up here, but might have. So not a great solution. And we're leaving those guys. Yeah, aircraft. I'm just yeah, let's come back to here. I'm thinking refuel. Rearm. So we'll have longer time potentially to deal with things up north. We're going to make the best choices with what we have now. Okay. I think that's all we really want to do. Or can do. Yeah, engineers, I screwed up. I've not played this scenario before, so this is still new to me. Okay. Now. Take out this airstrip. Oh damn, I wanted to fully take you out this turn. I was hoping to drive up here faster, better, quicker. Actually, I'm going to move up there to get on the roads, and that will link us up. Okay. There we go. Oh yeah, you've got to get back and land. You're running out of fuel. Okay. You might not make this back because you'll lose some of the... Okay, well, first off, you're going to fly north. We're going to launch you. You're going to come in and land. You, we're going to reinforce you. Well, we'll do what we can to hold out as long as we can there. Now here, these guys are going to get out of the train and they're going to all the way up to there. But see, these guys, now that that's connected, let's see, they can get to here. They're going to keep on riding that train as far as we can get them up to here. Mentioning that, okay, these guys have ammo here. So, okay, they're motorized, Okay, No, I don't know of a sort of Panzer General or Order of Battle Vietnam game myself. There might be one out there. There are definitely other. They published an Afghanistan-based game some time ago. Okay, well we also need to, or we should reinforce you a bit. Okay, yep, keep our anti-aircraft gun coming up. You can go into port there. Not that it really matters. You're keeping supplying up in the north. You're supplying there. You're supplying there. Okay, that's it. Low fuel, yes, we know. These guys are. Oh, they retreated back. These guys, they're retreating back. Well, they'll attack better from the solid land, that's for sure, than the bridge. And boom, dead, and they advance. Yep, okay, British have got an air base. Okay, we've connected, and we just need to destroy 6 ground units in the next 11 turns. Oh, goody. These guys can go that way, these guys go this way. These guys go this way. Get this artillery moving up. As you all know, truck mobility adds a hell of a lot. Okay, these guys are going to come down here and land. Well, we saved the unit, though they're not at any strength to do any good this mission. Okay, now you're going to come up and do reconnaissance for us. These guys are going to take off. And these guys are going to take off. Learn from my mistakes. Okay, now, they're moving along there pretty fast. They're actually walking along rather fast too. Oh, yes, you, yeah, might as well come to here. We'll get you off and put you on the railroad and get you up quicker than you would dragging the, oh, don't know if they can shoot out into the water, not sure with their heavy weapons, but we'll move over to here. I was staying here so that we would supply both areas, but that will do us. Oh, we see the British here. They've taken this, so we got British coming from this side. All right, well, we are getting our forces up there. Okay. Let the AI have its turn. And so I forget the general's name. Could have even been Hadler, but I forget who it was. contacted one of the British diplomats and said that over Czechoslovakia, if Hitler goes to war over Czechoslovakia, what you do is you push one good hard offensive against us, and we'll do a coup against him. But you got to do a hard offensive against him. This was back in '38 over the Munich crisis. We'll do a coup. I believe he meant it. I don't think it was some sort of psychological war ops or something like that. But okay, we do not want to be on the train because we won't get off the train unless we come to here. No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to go onto the bridge. So we see that in 38 that the British are being contacted. Just go to war, we'll depose Hitler if you do so. That's sort of the one sort of fallacy with this thing, because I think the truck could make it to here, but I don't have a way of telling it to only do truck movement. And coming up based on the campaign series, yeah, that would be good. But I think he was looking specifically for a hex-based kind of game. And yes, these guys keep rolling. You come to here, we'll put you on the troop train after getting to there. Hello, Ellen Devout. Good to have you here. Yeah, we're leaving you grounded. I'm not going to spend the points right now or reinforce you. Oh, well, before we do that, we're probably not going to get close enough now. Not further. So let's doing the best. Oh, damn, they went way too far back. Okay, well, not a whole lot we can do about that now. They're out of ammo, so they're gonna fall back. These guys reinforce them. How's the battle going? Well, reasonably well. Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about now, Beam Slamp. Was it Chamberlain who said that? Not sure exactly what you're referring to, but Chamberlain, you know, he had his serious faults, including his health, but I actually think he did reasonably well. Now, for winning this scenario, destroying 6 allied units in the time allotted is what I'm worrying about now, mostly. Not just surviving, but because we have 9 turns left. Pushed one back to here, so let's see what I'm forgetting. No, you're staying there, not forgetting you. Oh, you need to move. Right, okay. They've pushed back, how interesting. But they're attacking the infantry without, that doesn't have ammo. Well, by their behavior, it's seeming like they're making this easier. This is my reconnaissance aircraft. Let's fly up here, look around. Okay. You see that. They can come to here. And strafe them as well. Okay. Moving onto the bridge is not good, but we may see a few more coming this way, like I say, but we may need to move up forces to that hex. Okay, they fell back. Yeah, that's what I was hoping for, to get the crossfire, if you will, or supporting fire modifier. Keep the pressure up on this, on these units here. That's a bit vulnerable, maybe I shouldn't have. I want to use trains? No, damn it. Okay, well. Here we will. Put these guys all the way back. Keep them moving up. These guys, put them on trains. Rarely do I have the opportunity to actually effectively use rail transport in this game, but here it has been. Don't know how much the AA units are going to help me or not. Let's reinforce you. Yeah, we're leaving the fighters down there. Okay. Yep, shouldn't have moved them up in the trucks, but oh well. A little bit of loss. Well. Okay, well they fell back, but we're not going to fill that hole just yet. Now. Let's see. Not terribly good. Now, we could move him to there. He'll be better at attacking that fort, I think. So we use their indirect fire capability. And weaken them some more. They're going to come back this way. Okay, that didn't do as much good as I had hoped. Hoped to destroy the unit, but whatever. This guy I'm gonna move up. These guys are going to go back this way to see if there's any more forces over there to deal with. Yeah, let me hit this allow. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even read it yet, but I'm going to prove the censorship bot didn't like the word Hitler, but we know it's in context here. Well, I don't know how you can say Chamberlain did reasonably well. He was duped by Hitler, came home and gave the country a false sense of security and failed to mobilize against possible threats. I would disagree with that, Jam, today. I think Chamberlain realized that Britain, maybe not France, but Britain was in no shape in 1938 to fight Hitler. I think he realized that. And he then, at that point, goes home and significantly starts pushing rearmament. He didn't say, when he came, he does not say peace in our time. He says peace for our time. Meaning that he is getting us peace for our time to rearm. It's not mobilize. It's rearm, because they had disarmed so much. The Navy was strong, relatively speaking, and that could protect Britain. But that does not allow you to prosecute a war on the continent. It does not give you the air force that it needs. Chamberlain, within the political realities of the time, he starts rearming. So I view him maybe better than many people in history do. And I don't think he was duped by Hitler. I don't think at all. That's why you see him guaranteeing Polish independence. You see him, doing a lot of various things that. We're gonna fly over here just to see what we're facing up here. Okay. That are going to help the coming war. Could he have done more? Absolutely, he could have done more. I don't know if he could have done a lot more, but he could have done more. Yes. But Hitler was also sort of playing around too. He wasn't really expecting a war until, 41, 42, or maybe even 43. So, probably more 42, 43 Hitler. So, it's that type of thing. Here's our AA guns. We're just moving them to move them. And also you got to remember, it's either very late 39, early 1940, before the invasion of France. France is critically worried about the overwhelming German air superiority. They're petrified by this. France doesn't know that it has more modern aircraft of all types than Germany has alone. Okay, so France's Air Force, on paper at least, meaning numbers of aircraft, numbers of pilots, numbers of bombs, in their inventory, is better off than the Luftwaffe. Now, the Luftwaffe is better organized. We know the Luftwaffe is better organized. The Luftwaffe is better set up to coordinate with ground forces. So, you can go, hey, yeah, France has more tanks than Germany. French tanks are better armored than German tanks are, including the Renault 35 has pretty thick armor. And they have the Char B1 and the Salma tank, which is, both of those are okay-ish. They're actually rather good for a 1932 to 1936 tank. Not so great for a 1940 tank, but they're okay. They've got lots of these units on paper, but they don't use them well. Okay, so we know German's armored forces is better, but sort of looking at on paper, and even the levels of training of some of the particularly tank cavalry units, not the infantry support guys that are running around in the, a company here, a company there, because that's how they were organized up in company strengths. The R-35 are spread all over the army. They're not, in my understanding, they're not like particularly good. There may be good units, but they're not particularly good as a whole. But like the S-35s, those are pretty well trained organizations. Mostly, I say mostly because at least one unit that was given the tanks, because there's units that have been sort of around for a year or two when the fall gelb starts. There's units that have been around for a few years, and then there's units that were like stood up a month ago. They didn't even realize that there was two fuel tanks on an S-35, so they were running out of fuel, not realizing they could fill up both tanks, because they just weren't trained. So it varies from unit to unit, but there's some really professional French units out there. So on paper, yeah, France has a bigger air force than Germany does alone. France is worried about the overwhelming size of the German air force. It's perception. Again, warfare is a political act. Politics is based on perception. So warfare is based on perception. You can go back to Sun Tzu on that. So the French are worried about the German Air Force. The French get very upset when Churchill orders bombing of Germany, particularly bombing of some of the forests that were used for wood for military purposes. Because the Allies had yet to really start bombing of cities. They were waiting for various reasons, again, political reasons. And so Chamberlain, we're going to go offensive and do some bombing operations and not just do leaflet drops that the French were doing, because the French were worried about it. So he's not being as aggressive as, say, Churchill wants him to be, especially like we were talking earlier about pushing hard for support for Finland. But maybe he has a better, because look, if you go and you help Finland, what does that do? It wastes away your efforts, quite honestly. And even if you go in, you fight the Winter War, and you have a settlement, now does that keep Finland neutral later when Germany goes in the war, no continuation war? Maybe, but, I don't know. That's, a question mark. So, but then you have your limited efforts, and you're upsetting Norway and maybe Sweden to the point, because there is, you've heard about Quisling in Norway, of course, and his ultra-nationalist right-wing organization. I'm not sure whether it's more fascist or more National Socialist, but because the terms are often thrown around and misused during the time period. But you have several significant Nazi parties going on in Sweden that, had you had a clash of arms with the British, might have been able to disrupt, maybe bring down the Swedish government, maybe move Sweden into a pro-Nazi camp. So the Brits, with their one-side guarantees in spring 1939, practically set up Poland against Germany. Well, it was France and Britain. I wouldn't say it was just Britain. France was ready to fight over Czechoslovakia, I think Daladier was, but he was not willing to fight without the full support of Britain, not just because Chamberlain at that point realizes, like I say, he doesn't see Britain is ready to fight Germany. Whether they were or not, I would say they weren't, but he doesn't see them ready to fight Germany. And so since Britain won't support France, France doesn't support. Now, Poland, the guarantee of Poland really only, I think, and you can look at the calendar and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, really only comes once Germany takes the rest of Czechoslovakia. And, the Czechs were willing to fight over the Sudetenland, but only with full support of France, because they see France as the key as to whether that. Now, Poland does fight, and which would have been very different outcome, in my opinion, if the Soviet Union hadn't guaranteed Hitler the no war with the Soviet Union over Poland. Not that it would have saved Poland, because Germany would still win against Poland without the Soviets, but that really makes the situation different. When Britain guarantees Poland, there is no Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact. When that happens, it's less than a week that the invasion of Poland starts. So without that, Hitler's worried about the possibility. Now, he gambles and misgambles. He gambles that Britain, particularly, but also France, is going to back down over Poland. He's wrong about that. But what he's worried about is what the Soviet Union's going to do. That's where he's worried. So, because of that guarantee and the worry about the Soviet Union, that is keeping Germany from invading Poland. It is only once you get the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact that calms Hitler's fears regarding Stalin does he want to go after Poland. So, yeah, it's not quite, we're looking back, Paul Winter, and it's clear in hindsight of what was happening. But what they saw at the time, and both sides, you don't just see what the British see. You got to see the views from Nazi Germany, from look, Stalin. Why the hell does he go in with Hitler? What strategic advantage does Stalin have partnering with Hitler? Now, of course, the Soviet Union is a pariah country out in the world. It, barely has diplomatic recognition. What do they get out of it? They knew very well that their guarantees were worthless at the time. They did just to buy time for yourself. I disagree. Without the USA would war in Europe, two solutions: Soviet supremacy or Nazi Europe. Well, the USA is required for material production. Without the USA in World War I, we would have seen a different. I mean, I'm not talking about U.S. intervention militarily, but without U.S. production. If U.S. had sort of done the sort of, like I was talking earlier, the Denmark thing, and go, we're not selling arms to any belligerent powers. If you're at war, we're not selling you arms. And if we sell you arms and then you trade them onward to a belligerent power, we're stopping selling arms. If they had done something like that, we would have seen a very different World War I, for sure. So the USA is critical in all of these operations. Do note that while the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact was being negotiated in Moscow, Britain and France sent in this is before the start of the war, sent in a diplomatic team of both Britain and France, led by a British admiral, I believe, but one of them was there, that comes up, goes through Norway, Sweden, gets in there, and they're in Leningrad speaking with not Molotov, but like his number 2 guy in the diplomatic forum, to sign on an alliance to protect Poland. See, again, you're looking at this here now, looking back then. So they've guaranteed Poland. They send a diplomatic move to the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union says, yeah, come on, we'll talk. We'll meet in Leningrad, because they know that while that's going on, there's Molotov talking secretly with Ribbentrop about the future. Stalin, through the representatives, asks the Allied Corps, hey, guys, the Baltic states, if we come in with you and your ally Poland, what about the Baltic states? Who gets to say over? And the Allies' response is basically, hey, the Baltic states, they're independent. No, you can't do them. If you come in, you can't have them. Of course not. The Baltic states are the Baltic states. They're free and independent countries. They get to do what they want. You can't do anything like that. Ribbentrop goes, oh, you can have Estonia and Latvia. We'll take Lithuania. And of course, you get, half of Poland, and you can have Finland. That was Hitler's negotiation to Stalin. Stalin doesn't like your borders don't change, but you're allied to us offer. Now, of course, that would have been the long run, that would have been a better solution to take for Stalin, obviously. But he doesn't take it. He goes with Hitler's offer. He doesn't have to take either one of them, of course. He could have just stayed, no, neither. And kind of thing. But he does that. Now, Germany does well in the invasion of Poland, takes a larger chunk of Poland, renegotiates the Ribbentrop-Molotov Pact to say, okay, Stalin, you can have Lithuania too. We'll take this bigger chunk of Poland. And they renegotiate that. That's why it ends up being a little different than what the original pact, secret part of the pact, originally set up. So with the Polish situation, they were trying to secure it with securing support from the Soviet Union in an anti-Hitler pact. And that would have given Stalin his diplomatic recognition, probably given him a clear trade agreements, because it is really hard for the Soviet Union to be able to trade anything with most of the world. Obviously they had the Holodomor, they needed food. They could have been trying to sell oil, but a lot of nations wouldn't buy oil from the Soviet Union. There's a lot of industrial capability that the Soviet Union is buying from Germany that they could have bought from other nations in the world. Had they gotten more favorable diplomatic situation. So, had the deal been, hey, stop all anti-Soviet embargoes against us. Stop, allow us to buy anything we can buy. Buy a certain amount of oil, buy a certain amount of other raw materials, whatever it might be. Had they done that, sort of what Stalin gets later on with, being in the Security Council of the UN, that kind of thing. Instead of being a pariah in the world, you get to be one of the major players. That, of course, would have been the way for Stalin to go. But he doesn't. He doesn't see the long point is. Let's see what Paul. My point is, until early 1939, Hitler considered attack France first. After the British guaranteed, Germans decided they must eliminate Poland first to secure the east flank. I don't know if that, you may be right on that, Paul Winter. I don't know that it was clear-cut. If Germany had stayed democratic, Soviet might not have invaded Poland or even invaded France, depending on how strong Germany would have been in that case. Well, okay, let's presume for the moment a democratic, if Germany was ever, if even the Weimar government was ever really democratic, they had a democratic form. It's there was not any real in Germany in even during the Weimar years, there was not even any real consensus that democracy was a good thing. You had the traditionalists that wanted, Hindenburg, which, was a stand-in for the Kaiser, and the Hindenburg wants Kaiser back someday, and he's pushing towards that. You got the communists pushing towards well, they might think it's democratic, but, communist revolutionary democratic version, People's Republic or whatever you want to call it. You got the Nazis pushing for their solution. You don't really have a consensus of Germany is democratic. You just have a sort of democratic form there that is being fought over as to be who's going to be the next authoritarian ruler of Germany. You have that going. But let's presume that they sort of stay around. Well, then presumably, my thinking is, they abide by the Versailles Treaty. So they've got a 100,000 man army plus a bunch of semi-secret militias. Soviet Union could roll Poland by the 1930s. Yeah, Poland stands up in 1920. And a few years, after that. So, but later on, Stalin could roll Poland and keep on going into Germany because, France thinks it has the most tanks. France thinks it has the most aircraft. France thinks it's the best. It's the Soviet Union on a numbers, paper numbers game. And how many artillery pieces, how many tanks, how many aircraft. It's the Soviet Union. But nobody knows it. Everyone considers, including Germany, including France, they consider France as to be the military superpower of the day. It's the Soviet Union in a numbers situation. We obviously see Germany with its radios and higher tech and more dynamic fighting almost defeat the Soviet Union in 1941. But and I still contend that if it had been just a German-Soviet matchup, excuse me for a second, Germany would win. Meaning if there's no air war, there's no need to occupy or defend a west, even if it's, the west wall of Germany, not taking France or the Low Countries, just Germany versus Soviet Union, sort of, with Poland being the battlefield and whatnot. I say Germany wins. It's only having to have, because in the earliest days you have a ground offensive, but if you look at like War in the East 2, look at how weak the Luftwaffe is in the openings of that invasion. And that's because of the needs of having the Luftwaffe in other places, defending against, Britain, dealing in the Mediterranean, plus losses fighting in these places. That if you didn't have these other, losses and other needs of use, you could have a much bigger Luftwaffe initial attack. So you need to look at all of that. Let's see. Nobody become overnight, of course. Germany was, weak. Yeah, I mean, they had a weak democratic form, of government, because, I do sort of know the stuff. I'm British of a certain age when parents and grandparents regarded Chamberlain as an appeaser. I appreciate you have a valid opinion with hindsight. At the time, he became much despised. Oh, he does become much despised. Absolutely. And I definitely, before starting to read into it, would have fallen under that idea. And Churchill is the firebrand. But also look at you got to look at, again, politics is the art of the possible. Okay, we can have all kinds of principles in politics, whatever yours may be, and we're not bringing political talk into here in in a modern or whatever sense. But okay, so you can have whatever principles you think is good in politics, but real politics is the art of the possible, whether it's government budgets or whether it's popular sentiment of the people. Politics is the art of the possible. War breaks out. What does Chamberlain do? He remembers, as everybody just about does at the time, that Churchill was First Lord of the Admiralty during World War I. Now, he oversees what becomes the Dardanelles debacle, but he recognizes the leadership elements of Churchill. So he puts Churchill, who had been an army guy. He had been in the army, fought in India a bit, did the whole sort of reporter thing in South Africa with the Boer Wars, and then was captured and did this whole, sneak out of captured territory thing. So he's an army background, but he's also British and, been as First Lord of the Admiralty, not been in the Navy, but takes over command of the Navy to the point of he wants to get the Navy involved in World War I more. So he's getting them armored cars to fight, get the Navy into the ground forces in World War I. But so Chamberlain puts Churchill back in charge of the Navy. He could have froze Churchill out of the government and ruling it. So you got to look at all of these things when you evaluate Chamberlain. No, he's not perfect, but he does see the danger. Now, I'll agree that he doesn't do everything that is even practically possible within the realities of and I'm basically we've run out of time, but I'm just still talking on the subject. I hope it's interesting. That's why I'm not playing anymore. If you're wondering, within the possibilities and the realities of his time, he could have done more. Now I don't know how much more. At what point does budget start to break? He can't convince the House of Lords or the House of Commons to vote for the budget. Can't get the King to support. I don't know where the line would have been between possible and not possible getting more ready. But he definitely puts on into the right thing. So he makes a lot of good choices, and he even realizes, instead of trying to fight on, that because of the falling of France, he realizes his government is falling, and he doesn't fight it, and he then recommends to the king to appoint Churchill as prime minister. So there you go. Tech will never stop 14 million Russians charging at you. Hello, Commando Solo. Yeah, but tech... Yeah, well, no, it can. Got enough nuclear bombs, you can nuke them. So, it depends on how you equate that. And yes, thanks for following us. I hope everyone here has followed the channel. Slovakia was only a democratic republic in Central Europe. Even Poland and Hungary was democratic. Yeah. Poland was sliding a bit into dictatorship. Yeah, wasn't. Poland was sliding a bit into dictatorship. Admiral Hothi was regent for the Kingdom of Hungary. So I don't know if is Britain a monarchy today, or is Britain a democracy today? Today as we sit here. It calls itself a kingdom, but what is it? So yeah, I don't know about those two countries, because if you look at Poland they're pushing into dictatorships. Now they're sort of national emergency type dictatorships. Oh shit, we're surrounded by the Nazis and the Soviets, and they both want our country. So Churchill was for the possible, even if a bit crazy. Yeah, at the time, just the right amount of craziness for the time. But he lost the election he loses the election. I don't know if I think Germany had surrendered with that election, but then they re-elect him once they see that labor is not necessarily the greatest thing in the world. Well, if you like this talk, I hope you've followed here. But you can also check out my YouTube channel, in which I very much look at, the politics, play the various games and talk about politics but you know, politics, history, society, culture around the games that we're playing. I look at, you know, gaming with history and whatnot. And you can follow me on Twitch, which I stream for myself mostly on the weekends. I understand there's an option in this game series which you can use a basic map without any 3D map. Is there a chance you can easily show that for a minute? Well, let me save this first. Okay. Well, let's name this. T04. Let's play 04. Okay. Let's go into settings and see. I'm happy to preferences. 3D world map, 2D world map, 3D tactical map. It requires user to be reloaded. Okay. No, we don't want to do this just yet. Unit scale, small, classic, large scale, unmoved units, low aircraft fuel. Okay, I guess this is enable hex grid. I think that we're looking at. I don't know if we can get rid of the people to a counters like thing. So yes, we will restart. Let's see how this looks. Okay, I guess this is, if this is what you're talking about here. If you prefer this, I've not seen this before, as you can tell. It's functional. No. No, that's what we're on, I think. Yeah, there was definitely a feeling of change. You know, Britain's pre-war medical establishment was uneven, rudimentary, and of course during the war they ramp up lots of medical capabilities fighting the war. And so there is definitely the move to nationalize British health. That Churchill wasn't, I don't know, you know, Churchill really wasn't thinking in those terms, I don't think. I'm not sure, because conservatives aren't always against every change. They just sort of want to only change when it's absolutely necessary. Okay, I don't see about getting rid of the 3D units. Go into like a, you know, we can try this. See what it looks like. Oh, well, that's maybe what we're on. Okay, let's perfectly willing to check out some of these things. Okay, let's do 2D world map. Yeah. Oh, well, it's about the same. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. If you like, if you prefer. Or we can go back to 3D world map. And we're taking longer to load because this is more graphically intense, I guess. Right, so we're here with this. And we can, you know, that this is without, we can, like, as we can say, playing with the hex grid, you can see just it's a thin line, or no hex grid if you like. I guess that's the only basic ones. I've just sort of gotten used to this and just that's what I play. And so, yeah, Churchill wasn't maybe strong on things like that. And definitely Churchill wants to maintain as much of the British Empire as he can. But one of the reasons I think he comes back is because of the threat of the Soviet Union and another war breaking out. And they see the strong leadership of Churchill. And, he's the one that coins the Iron Curtain speech. I think he was speaking in America when he did that. But so, yeah, Churchill is definitely the right guy to lead Britain during the war. That's for sure. And, even Chamberlain sees that eventually. No, there is no... That's the one thing I really hate about this. I haven't ranted about it during this playthrough. Let me close this. But there is no undo button in this. Some games, can't undo it after you do a combat or after you undo or reveal a hidden unit. But otherwise, you can do undo. This has 0 undos. So you just keep that in mind when playing this game. I don't like that. Okay, everyone. Like I say, thanks for watching. You got the links to follow my Twitch and YouTube channels if you like my style of talking while playing the games of historical context that the games are set in. I love talking about it. Do, of course, follow here for myself. I'll be back next week at this time for, I think it is Field of Glory 2 Medieval. Though we'll be playing this continuing from here, I think a week after next. So we'll be back to this, and of course many other streamers here. So thank you all. See you next time, everybody.